Hello, my name is Kashim Ibrahim Ahmed, a fellow of the third cohort of Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship, and I'm here to talk about our Community Service Week. Community service is one of the four components of the Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship. In this component of the fellowship, fellows are saddled with the responsibility of planning, fundraising, execution, as well as completion of their preferred projects as a way of paying it forward and giving back to their community. For this Community Service Week, we chose a theme which is controlling of infectious disease through hygiene. And we had a couple of activities going on around that. On day one of our Community Service Week, my colleague Mahmoud and Bernice went for a radio show to talk to the listeners about Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship as well as our Community Service Week. The radio show was called Top of the Day. At 2 p.m., myself and my colleagues visited the Adonai Orphanage and Women Home to talk to them about hygiene as a way of preventing infectious disease, as well as present them with food items and drinks. At 7 p.m. that day, we had a Facebook Live event which had amazing panelists talk about youth and governance, a roadmap to Nigeria's greatness. Something that stood out for me during the Facebook Live event was the need for an elite consensus, sincerity of purpose, as well as each one teach one, a concept that fellows use to advocate for people trying to instill knowledge and information about things they know to other people, and other people doing the same to other people.
On the second day of the Community Service Week, we as fellows, together with our invited guests, launched a borehole at the Babban Saura LGEA. The relevance of this project is prevalent, seeing as we're currently in a COVID-19 pandemic, and this project will give better access to wash facilities in the primary school as well as in the community.
We want to thank Ibrahim Fellowship for making this project a reality for the school.
In addition to curbing the spread of the coronavirus disease, the project is expected to provide access to wash facilities for the girl child, as this is one of the major reasons that prevent them from coming to school. Finally, the project will also be replicated in the other two senatorial zones in Kaduna State.
On day 3 of our Community Service Week, we paid a visit to a radio station where we presented a program, I and a colleague of mine, Omolara Daniel. The program was tagged Dangers of Drug and Substance Abuse to Nigeria's Growth, and we had resource persons, specialists precisely, that joined us in that discussion. It happened to be one of our thematic areas for the Community Service Week, so we had someone from Milestone, another one from the side of government, that joined us in the discussion at the radio station. It stayed for 1 hour. We had the first 30 minutes with the guest, then the other 30 minutes at the end of the discussion. We opened the lines to let callers participate.
Dictate to it, how do you get out? What's the exit point? How do we manage the situation?
Later on, we moved from the radio station to a park here in Kaduna State, Mando Park, where we sensitized there at the park road users, motorists, and also members of different associations, from drivers to also National Union of Road Transport Workers, on the dangers of drugs and other substance abuses.
And there are different ways these drugs act on our system.
Now, towards the end of the session, we entertained questions from those that were there with us at the park, and those questions were addressed by the specialists that were with us at the park. One from Milestone and one from Kaduna State Bureau for Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment. And What stood out for me was the fact that here in Kaduna, there are drop-in centers. One is at Sabo and the other at Kabala Doki, where if you have anyone that suffers or is addicted to drugs, you could take that person or encourage the person to go to find help. Additionally, you may wish to call this number if you need help or you want to report a case, 081-2764-6012. Thank you.
I'm here to speak on day 4 of our Community Service Week. On the 10th of December, we visited the Kaduna State School for Special Education. As fellows, we aligned with the rest of the world to mark the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which is usually celebrated on the 3rd of December every year. Our visit was to ensure that persons with disabilities are not left behind when it comes to having access to inclusive education. As fellows, we made provisions for computers for the visually impaired students in the school in order to ensure that, just like the hearing impaired session, they had access to using the computers. These computers were pre-installed with screen readers for their use.
And the computers have a special software. It's called the screen reader.
This gesture went a lot, as the principal of the school was in full appreciation for what the fellows had done. Fellows collaborated with Kaduna State Power Supply Company, CAPSCO, and providing solar panels and low energy consumption water pumps, which could go a long way in reducing the cost of energy consumption within the school. Fellows also reiterated the importance of ensuring proper hygiene in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hello, my name is Victoria Dogo, and I'll be giving a recap of Friday, December 11th, which is the last day of the Community Service Week for Kashim Ibrahim Fellows. The day kicked off with a drug and substance abuse sensitization. This was facilitated by Mr. Micah, a resource person from Milestones Foundation. This organization is focused on eradication of drug abuse, and it's also a support system for victims of drug abuse. In the course of the program, there was an interactive session between fellows and participants. The fellows rounded up the event with the presentation of promotional materials and hygiene kits to the participants at the park. To conclude the week, 2 fellows were hosted on Newsday Live, a radio and TV show on Kaduna State Media Corporation, to give a rundown of the week's activities. In retrospect, the Community Service Week was very fulfilling, and fellows were humbled by the appreciation received from the beneficiaries of the project. On behalf of the Kashim Ibrahim Fellows, we are grateful to the leadership of His Excellency, Malam Nasser Ahmed El-Rufai, the Governor of Kaduna State, for creating a platform for the fellows to give back to the society. Thank you.